attitude of speaking honestly about facts keeps smashing into religion uniquely. It doesn't smash into fiction. It doesn't smash into Dostoevsky. It smashes into Jesus, right? Because of what most people are doing with Jesus.
Yes, well, okay, so right, look, no arguments there. But let me offer you an elaboration of your idea. So let's say a kid wants to be Batman. Well, that's right, because that's why he's reading the comics, and that's why he's going to the billion-dollar Marvel movies that or DC movies that portray these superheroes out on the screen. It's because the kid is acting them out in imagination, is trying on an ideal. So let's say, well, maybe you start with a pro wrestler because you're not that conceptually sophisticated, and then maybe you move to Batman, and then maybe you move from Batman to Thor in the Marvel cartoons, and there you're in the domain of quasi deities, and then maybe you get a little bit more sophisticated than that, and you try on Jesus or Buddha. And then you ask yourself, well, what would happen to the world if you tried those on completely? And that's the real question. That's where the historical element and the mythological element meet. I mean, there's obviously a hierarchy of rank among individuals, and some people have a much more positive impact on the world through their actions than others. And there's some hypothetical ultimate limit to that. If you were the best person you could possibly be in every possible way, just exactly how much good could you bring into the world? And at what point would you be a bodhisattva? That's something Buddhists ask themselves all the time. Why
Yeah.
would you be an incarnation of Christ? Something that isn't just mythological or imaginative or delusional. It's a partial, because the ideal recedes as you approach it. But there's a reality underneath this, which is that better people are better and worse people are worse. And there's archetypal limits to both of those. So these are very complicated things. They're fiction in a sense, but I would think about them more as metafiction. They're what happens when you distill fiction into what's ever centrally true about fiction. And it's really, really true.
Well, I would grant you, and again, this is the topic of my book, Waking Up, that there are possibilities on the positive end of human psychology that very few people actualize for any significant amount of time. And people glimpse them in their best moments in life. They have peak experiences, whether on drugs or after some crisis, or they've been fasting, or they have moments where they feel as good as they have ever felt. They feel as in touch as they ever will with just the sheer profundity of slamming into the present moment and finding it totally captivating and worthy of their attention. They're not looking elsewhere for anything. They have become identical to the feeling of being and found it to be, in some basic sense, perfect. Now
Right.
that's available to us as human beings, and there's not much of a scientific story to tell about it at the moment. It's not arrived at by understanding more about the universe scientifically. So it is, in some sense, orthogonal to all of science. But
Right.
my point is that it doesn't require delusion